is the most frequently asked question I get, and I want to help you find your perfect art niche. So as you watch me draw this today, I'm going to teach you bulletproof strategies, activities, mindsets, and procedures that are going to help you determine your perfect art niche that you will love. And if you don't know what that is yet, you will by the end of this. Now on this topic, I want to ask you, what do you think is your worst nightmare? When it comes to your artwork, when it comes to your future, when it comes to your professional trajectory, perhaps, if that's what you want to do with this, you want to be a pro artist, right? Then you might be thinking that the issue with determining a single niche is that you're going to have limited opportunities. I don't just only want to do one thing. That sounds like torture, right? But here's what I want to let you know, friend, is that this is not an anchor. This is actually rocket fuel for you. And by doing this exact strategy and by helping other people do it, I've been able to go from only making $35 in artwork to upwards of $1,500. And you can too. Because one of the big things that this allows you is, first off, I want to free you from the idea that you are restricting yourself. You're not restricting yourself, friend. You're focusing yourself. You're committing yourself, okay? This is just like when you enter a relationship and you commit to somebody. This is just like when you decide what job field you want to go into, you're committing to it, okay? By you doing this, you are going to expand your opportunities exponentially. You're going to appear like you are a specialist. You're going to grow a very great and diverse set of skills that will feed what you want to do in your future. Now, here's the big thing too, is that you don't have to only stay in one niche, but starting out, I very much recommend that you just go with one niche for your freelance career. Because if not, my friend, you might be like, well, Sean, if I do 5 different niches and 5 different art styles, then I might have 10 times the opportunity. But really, your math's wrong because you're not multiplying it, you're dividing it. And the one thing I'll warn new freelancers maybe like you on is this: would you prefer to succeed one time, or would you prefer to struggle or maybe fail 5 times? Which one do you want, friend? Because this is how you're gonna figure that out starting right now. Now, what if I could ask you one singular question that could probably help you figure out exactly what that is, exactly what that perfect art niche is? And when it comes down to it, the major element that I think that you want, and tell me if this is you too, you just want to feel peaceful about it. You want to feel like you're going to enjoy it, you're gonna love it, right? And here's the most powerful way I can simplify it, and it's this. If you could wake up tomorrow and you did not have money as a concern, you just woke up and you had $100 million in your bank account tomorrow morning. It'd be pretty awesome, right? What would you do? If you had to pick one single type of artwork, and this can be either your niche or your art style, what would it be for the rest of your life? That right there, that's the one that you should choose. And a lot of times I ask people this and they're like, oh my God, but I love so many. No, if you're really wrestling with this, I just want to let you know, you're just wrestling with some of the stuff that I'm going to talk to you about later in this video with it, but it should come very easily. It should come very naturally. When you think about what you love to do, this is where you should fall into it, and your intuition should lead you to it. Like for me personally, when I first started out freelancing, I did a lot of sci-fi and near future military stuff. And I liked doing it, but I didn't love doing it. I always wanted to do fantasy. I always wanted to break into that genre. And I made an abrupt halt and pivot to make sure that I went and did that, because no matter what I did, I never got that full satisfaction, that fulfillment in here about what I was doing. And if that's you, friend, what I want to urge you to do is instead to start to shift towards that. And look, if you're still not sure, I get it, okay? So make sure that you go through these exercises, and that's gonna bring you a lot more clarity as we consider this as well. Now for this next activity, you might be wondering, what does a billionaire investor have to do with trying to find your art niche? And I want to introduce to you a modified version of what's called the Warren Buffett method. If you don't know who he is an ultra wealthy person, and he came up with this for helping people decide what field that they should go into or what they should invest into. But we can apply this to art just like this. So for everybody here that's horribly confused, you have absolutely no idea, you have too many loves, you've got too many passions, right? This is gonna help you majorly. So go ahead and compose a list right now of at least 20 to upwards of 50 different things that you love. This can be different types of genres, different types of niches within genres too. You can be as narrowed and as broad as you like, but I really want you to go ahead and just create this massive list. Get everything, just dump everything onto a sheet of paper, dump it into a spreadsheet, and just go, this is my entire list. This is gonna be a little bit more painful than the last one, but you have to narrow that down to just your top 5. Just your top 5. This should be pretty simple because you're gonna definitely feel compelled towards certain options way more than others on there. But by doing this, again, you're getting all those possibilities out there, but you're just gonna go ahead and boom, slap it down to 5. What do you do next? Now that you have that done, go ahead and take a look at what you have, and if you have less than 5, you're doing even better than what I recommend. So now go ahead and create at least 2 artworks for every single one of those. Just 2 of them, that's it. You don't have to overinvest into it, but while you're going through this, and here's the reason why, is because something might sound really great and amazing for you, until you actually sit down and invest into it. Until you actually sit down and you're wondering, what is it like to actually fulfill a client request? If you're unsure as to like what the heck those should be, maybe go ahead and take some requests. Maybe go ahead and go onto Reddit and just see like what types of characters people have and if you could maybe create them. Or you can go ahead and just Google up some images and kind of create your own character or scene or environment or prop design, whatever you want to do for it, and just create that. And while you're doing that, here's what I want to cue you into. I want you to be really, really focused on how you feel doing it. I want you to feel what it's like creating those artworks. And from that, that's going to gift you some wisdom. You're going to know which one you enjoy the most. And which one you enjoy the most is the one that you should pursue. So this is going to take you a little bit of time, but hey, look, if you do this and then you come back to this video, definitely let me know down below which one it was. And continuing on, if this is helping you, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe because I'm all about helping you achieve your art dreams and achieve the potential that you have right now. And if you know somebody that this would also help, please make sure that you share it with them so that we can help spread the good word because I want to impact as many people just like you. And now, make sure that you know this. Now, a really popular concern that I see a lot of artists struggle with is this, is that you're going to pick a niche, you're going to think that you have your perfect genre, but it's way too broad. It's just way too encompassing. I'm gonna give it to you as this example. Like if you're going to say right now, like, I love fantasy too. However though, that is not a narrow enough niche, okay? And the reason being for that is because there's just way too much. That's all over the place, okay? So if you say anything like that, or if you're like, even I like sci-fi, okay, cool. Well, what is that? Is that mechs? Is it cyberpunk? Is it dystopian Fallout stuff? Is it vehicles? Are you doing 3D modeling? You see what I mean? It's just way too much. So if this is you, friend, go ahead and go through this process with me because this is going to give you a lot of clarity. Step 1 is I want you to go ahead and let's just say that you're going with fantasy, okay? Make a list right now of 20 fantasy niches. These are just 20 different versions of what fantasy could be, just to help narrow me in on what I would like to do. Now listen, as you're doing this, you're probably gonna have to do a little bit of research. You're probably gonna have to look up some different versions of it. You might have to scroll around the internet a little bit to help you come up with 15 to 20. But if you don't have 15 to 20, I'm just gonna say that you might not be considering it as much as you think you were. But definitely explore your options. You got that list? Good. Now, let's move on. So to start out, here's what we gotta do. We gotta have a little bit of a culling here. I want you to go ahead and eliminate 3 right now. These are 3 that you don't feel really aligned to you. Here comes the next step. I want you to choose one of them that you really like. Just one of them right now. All right, next, go ahead and kill 3 more. These are, again, things that you just don't feel aligned to. You don't really have a strong magnetism towards. Go ahead and eliminate those. All right, now choose one more that you really, really like. Something that you think that you could invest your time and energy into. Now, go ahead and kill off 3 more of those. And now, if you haven't guessed it, choose 1 more. All right, now, I want you to take a look at the rest of your list at this point so far. And you're probably gonna have leftovers, right? Well, guess what? Kill them all. Because if you didn't identify them as I don't really like them, and you didn't identify them as I really like these, then they're not that important. If they're mediocre importance to you, then guess what? It's gonna be of mediocre interest to you. So it just doesn't make any sense for you to pursue that. Now take a look at that top 3 list. And again, I'm gonna ask you this. If you only could go ahead and do one of those types of artwork for the rest of your life where money wasn't a problem, what would it be? That's the one. That's the one that you should choose. The one that is calling to you. You're not influenced by anything else. You're not worried about what you think about the market or if it's oversaturated or anything. No, friend, just choose the one. Let me know down below what your one is, by the way, if you did this right now and how this process was for you. But this is a really simple way to narrow it down. And the reason why this is so effective is because oftentimes what you're doing is you're too influenced by outside forces that could work or that could be popular, or I think this is gonna blow up. But what this does is allows you just to exercise all those possibilities and then concisely narrow you down to one. But hey, look, maybe this isn't working out for you and I'm not done with you yet. Try this out. Now on this topic, what's the most alluring trap that I see so many artists get roped into and why it's helping them fail? Is that when you're considering, what should I do? Where should my career lead me? What should I offer for clients? You're obviously gonna think about this. You're gonna go, what's popular? Right? Have you ever said this before too, by the way? Have you ever said like, okay, well, as I'm scrolling around here, I see everybody's doing this, I see everybody's doing that, and it seems like everybody's running in that direction, so I should run with them too. But y'all, I'm gonna heavily oppose this because there is a very well-established, long history of so-called easy to break into popular art niches that people keep flocking to, and then unsurprisingly, they keep failing out of. You might have heard people say, well, you should go into furry artwork because that's really easy. Or you might have heard people say, oh, well, you should just go into Dungeons and Dragons artwork because that's so easy too. Now, for everything I just mentioned there, that might be easy for you, but it might be absolute hell for you. So just to give you all a big life clue here, there is one niche that is always going to be the best, the easiest to break into, and the one that you will undoubtedly have success in. And it's the one that you actually enjoy. I see way too many artists get suckered or pressured or just feel the pressure that they have to go into a specific niche that they think are going to be more successful in, rather than just diving into the one that they actually like, okay? And I wanna warn you right now, if you're gonna hop into what you perceive to be a popular niche, then you're inevitably denying yourself satisfaction for what you actually like to do. And this will lead you to complete burnout and failure, okay? And it's just not a smart method to go through things. Instead, you will enjoy working on the type of artwork that you actually like making. You will succeed more when you can throw your passion into it. You need to stop overthinking this and just simplify it down to what is gonna work best for you? What are you going to enjoy doing for this? And if you're like, well, I like this, Sean, but I'm not sure how long I need to put into it, I'm gonna spot you on that here as well in a few minutes. So stick with me. But the key thing is this. There's no such thing as the perfect or easiest niche to break into, except the one that you really want to and you're willing to commit to. You ever consider that? Now here's a really important question that most artists won't ask themselves, and they won't really realize it until it's too late. And I'm gonna encourage you to not just think about the best, the most desirable, the most attractive versions of every single niche that you wanna get into, okay? Instead, I wanna ask you this. What's the least desirable component of the niche that you might be interested in, or the niches that you might pursue? And it's important to figure that out because every single niche has hard components to it and or has components that people don't expect, but they didn't anticipate it. And it's something that you can avoid, but it's also something that you should anticipate and plan for so that you can be successful in it. Let me just give you an idea here. So myself personally, I'm obviously a fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons artist as you're watching me draw this, right? But some things that you also want to be familiar with, like if you just want to do characters that are human-based, if you just want to do like basic white people, then Dungeons and Dragons might not be the best thing for you. There's a lot of diversity. There's a lot of diversity in terms of ethnicities. And there's also, in case you didn't know this, a whole crap load of different races of like non-humanoid creatures. So one of the things that I would encourage you to do is, if you're interested in this, is to have a really expansive portfolio that demonstrates that you can not only do basic white characters, but you can have people of color. And also, as a big tip, make sure you have non-humanoids. Similarly, let's say that you really like sci-fi based stuff, okay? But what's a drawback that people don't consider? You're gonna do mechs. Like you will get asked to do mechs and Gundams and all this stuff. Or maybe you're even on that cyberpunk train. And listen, if you like that though, here's what you wanna do. And you don't wanna do that. You wanna make sure that you fill up your portfolio with a specific niche within that overall umbrella, okay? So like for example, you might just wanna do vehicles, or you just might wanna do cyberpunk characters, or you just might wanna do like enhanced soldiers or something like that. So you thinking about the least desirable component of it and then planning your portfolio around that is going to help attract the clients that you want to work with and also kind of repel the clients that you don't want to work with. But here's one thing I am going to encourage you on, because I had to go through this too, okay? Is that whatever you expect in every single niche, you should expect that there are going to be curveballs thrown at you. You're going to have to expect that you're going to have to adapt a little bit to things that you didn't anticipate. But most importantly though, think about the worst components of each one, and do you like it or not? Because if you're not going to like it, then I would just question, like, is that just your fear and anxiety because you haven't started or been successful in it yet? Or is it literally that really turns you off? Again, if you're into dark fantasy, you're probably gonna have to do some gore and blood, and if that's not your jam, well, I wouldn't want to draw the jam. Make sense? Now let's say that you are a complete and total noob. You absolutely have no idea how any of this works. You're not even sure like what niche or genre is even out there. The first thing that I would do is I would go ahead and conduct some market research, okay? And just to give you some platforms on this, I would make sure that you go to like maybe Discord. I would make sure that you go to Reddit. I would make sure that maybe you peruse DeviantArt, or you check out Twitter, or you check out Tumblr, and go ahead and just investigate the spaces. If you want to check out what actually is offered for you that's well paying in the freelance world, you could even go ahead and check out like different subreddits that are specifically focused on you getting clients and you landing jobs, and just see what's offered there, okay? And from that, what I would do is I would just make a list, just compile everything that you see. And one of the things that I've done in the past is something very similar to this. And what I would do is I would write down like what the niche was, and then I would put a tally mark every single time I saw it repeated. And then from there, I had like a popularity list. And then I would take a look at all this, and then I would say, okay, well, I don't like this. This could be cool. This I really like. This I'm absolutely not gonna do. This, no. And from that, you're gonna have a really more informed basis to kind of know like what is available. And then you might even find something that you didn't even expect. Like, in case you didn't know this, but like you doing like Pokemon trainers, or I even have spoken to somebody recently who does Digimon commissions. And I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. So it's still surprising to me. There's a lot of things that are out there that you might not know are really, really big. And there are a lot of communities that you might discover like, hey, this would be a fun thing to be a part of. And that's another big element I would ask you to consider is, what community do you want to be associated with? And how is it going to look on you as you grow? Because how you are right now, or your just desire to make quick money, that will betray you at some point, okay? And it's going to let you down. Or it's going to ruin future prospects for you because you were too focused on just making a quick banger buck. Instead, focus on what is available for you, what's going to be the most fun. Now, when it comes to you strategizing, and when it comes to you trying to think about what you need to do, and you're worried about, I don't want to make the right move, or I'm afraid that I'm going to waste all this time into it, and you're afraid that nobody's going to buy from you, right? What do you think is the biggest waste of time that you might fool yourself into believing? It's gonna be that you needing to do more research, that you needing to do more thinking, that you need to spend some more time with yourself and alone with your thoughts here in order to figure that out. It's gonna be that you are afraid that you're gonna make a bad decision, that you are not gonna be successful. And what I'm talking about here is you're gonna lull yourself into believing that you need to think more. And what I see so many artists do is that they just become paralyzed by this analysis, and instead they're thinking more than doing. So y'all, here's what I want to urge you to do here is you got to learn to follow your intuition and follow your gut. Like, if you have a gut feeling that something should be something that you pursue, do it. It's really just that simple. When you make a decision, commit to that decision. Just go for it. You have to labor for it. Under no circumstance will thinking about your perfect art niche ever lead you to your perfect art niche. You know why? Because you haven't done anything with it. Because you've been too afraid. Because you've gotten analysis paralysis and decision fatigue, and you're just arrested by fear and anxiety out of what could happen and what might be. But I'm gonna tell you this, if you don't take any action, you will 100% fail. If you take some action, you might have some momentary setbacks. You might take a little bit more time than you think in order to achieve that success. But just to be honest with you right now, you're not feeling very successful, are you, right now? So if it takes you a little bit more time, if you have to encounter a little bit of hardship in there, what do you have to lose? Because you're not there right now. So then therefore, you haven't lost anything, have you? Like, just as an example here, I almost didn't start this YouTube channel. I was really nervous that people wouldn't like me, people would say nasty things about me, that they might even troll me, that I might start getting harassed in real life. And I started to think about all these big, massive YouTubers and some bad things that have happened to them. But what I want to let you know is that's an ultra minor fraction of what has actually happened. And as it pertains to this, if I didn't start this, I wouldn't be able to make this content to help you. I wouldn't be able to impact artists like I want to. And to be honest, I feel like this is one of the best decisions of my life that I did in spite of fear. Even though I wasn't sure that this would ever amount to anything, this is one of the best decisions I ever made. No, it was also a best decision I ever made was starting my freelance business. I was in my field for a couple years at that point, and I just didn't feel fulfilled in what I was doing, and therefore I wanted to do something that was just solely for myself. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do too, friend. Do something that's solely for yourself and invest into it, because it'll always invest back into you. So prioritize action over thinking about things, because thinking is just you deluding yourself into thinking that you're taking action, but you're not. See how that works? Now here's a strategy that I used when I first started off doing my freelance business. And because I did this allowed me to attract many more clients. I'm gonna tell you how this works, okay? So obviously you want clients, obviously you wanna get paid, but I think one of the most shallow developed skills is actually how to interact with people. So if you're somebody that is absolutely paralyzed by the potential of actually having to speak to another human being, this will help you big time. So what I did when I first started was I didn't have a large expansive portfolio, or for those of you that are switching your niche, you're gonna wanna consider this if you are just completely devoid of ideas. But have you ever considered taking requests? One of the things I did 10 years ago when I was just starting my business that brought me to today is that I went ahead online. And for me, it was DeviantArt was the hottest site back in the day. And you can do this as well on other platforms. I'll talk to you about that in a second. So what I did back then was I went to the DeviantArt forums and I went to the projects forum and I put up a request and I just said, hey, I would love to do some fantasy artwork, specifically in Dungeons & Dragons. What do you have? Like, what characters do you have? And the best part was that over the course of a weekend, I got about 30 replies on that. And I just put up a few examples of my artwork, and it really sucked back then. But people were interested in that at the prospect of free art. So what I did though, was I didn't do all of them. What I did was I combed through them and I went for the ones that felt the most interesting to me or something that I wouldn't normally do. And I selected those people and I reached out to them in a message. Now, you could also do this on Discord as well. The key thing here is that you want to take the jobs that are the most appealing to you. It's just real talk. Some people have really weird, derpy D&D characters that I had no interest in. Now, while you're doing this, I want you to treat it like it is a serious endeavor. I want you to treat it like you're trying to satisfy that client. I want you to treat it like you're really listening to them, because those are soft skills that a lot of freelancers really suck at. And they're afraid of too, by the way. So now you can be better than them. And then here's another great component of this, is that while I was doing this, I started to get work as I was finishing it up, and therefore I didn't have time for those requests. Okay, so you got two options. Number one is that you can still do it because you said you would, but also you can just let them know like, hey, I'm starting to get a lot of paid work and obviously I gotta focus on that. So unfortunately, not gonna be able to fulfill this request, but thanks so much for your interest. And sometimes they have hurt feelings and sometimes they don't over it. But look, at the end of the day, like, you should definitely go where your prospects are for it. And you don't have to feel bad about not fulfilling a request. Have you ever considered this? Have you ever tried that out before? Because it could really help propel you to the future that you want. Now let's tackle a really big, ugly topic that you're probably wondering about right around now. Or if not, let me just throw it out there for you. How long do you think that you should commit to a particular art niche? How long have you tried to do this in the past, by the way? And you tried to get into that and you tried to do the artwork for it, and then you just don't feel like you made any progress. Am I talking about you? If this is your case, here's what I want to let you know, and this might be an alarming stat for you, but let me unpack this for you. Here we go. I think that you should commit to any art niche for a solid 6 to 12 months. And now some of you probably just fell over in your chair hearing that. So no, you didn't hear me wrong. Yes, I did say half a year to an entire year on a single art niche. Now, let me just overcome your objections right now, because naturally you're like, well, Sean, I don't want to waste my time, and time's going to go by, and that's time that I'm going to fail. Okay, well, let me just be honest with you. Right now, you're not satisfied with it. Right now, you're not satisfied with what you're currently doing. Right now, you have ambitions that are unfulfilled. And right now, you're not achieving what you want to, and or you're not on the trajectory or the path that you want to be, right? So then therefore, if you invest the time into it, just open yourself to this possibility here, friend, is that you might actually be successful. You might gain some wisdom from it. You might actually be able to make some traction on it. And through doing this, I want to let you know that even if you don't get clients, or if you get clients that tell you no, or if you get clients that tell you that your price is too expensive or something like that, that's not a bad thing. That's a necessary thing. Because what that does is it gives you clarity and it gives you wisdom. It gives you the ability to pivot. And from that, you have options. From that, you can say, well, look, this didn't work out, or I keep on getting told this, or my examples don't support this. What should I do? So don't fall into despair, friend. Instead, I'm going to urge you this, is to just question, why didn't that work? Why am I not getting the clients? Why am I not achieving what I want to? What do I need to do? Are my practices good? There's a plethora of questions that you can provide yourself answers to other than why do I suck and why am I not getting what I want and why am I not a successful artist? Because to be honest, in your brain, they're both very legitimate sets of questions. One of them though is gonna lead you to oblivion. One of them is gonna lead you on the path to success. But if you commit 6 to 12 months, I guarantee you, you are gonna have a lot of clarity and you're gonna get a lot more satisfaction with it. How's that sound? Now, a really popular thing that you're probably wrestling with around this time is about time. And the reason why you're wrestling with that right now is probably having to do with fear of failure, am I right? And naturally, as we're going through this, you might be thinking to yourself, well, Sean, this sounds so easy for you. You make it seem so simple, but it's really not. It's really hard for me. And I want to blow your mind with some unexpected responses. And I want to advise you for your considerations around time, particularly in regards to your art career and your art success. So, is this going to be hard? Yes, of course it is. And if it's hard, good, because you're going to get a lot of wisdom from that. You're going to get a lot of real world experience. Is this going to take time for you to do, or more time than you think? Yes, it will. Good. And I want to just let you know that you putting in that time is not a negative, it's a positive. And it's necessary for you as it was necessary for me, because I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't put in time to things. Like, just as an example here, I have failed my way to success for the last 10 years, okay? Look, it took me 10 years of learning bad practices and bad principles and bad way to interact with clients and bad ways that everybody else is failing in the art market in order to give you this type of knowledge and information that I deliver to you every single week right here. And it also took me 3.5 years just to put out this video right here, because I've been making content for that period of time. And am I a mega successful artist on YouTube? No, I'm not right now, okay? I believe that I have that potential, but I'm okay with it taking the time. And so you might be wondering, by the way, if you're putting in enough time or if your commitment is good enough. And to put this into perspective for you, I want to give you a very real, raw, honest take, and something that I've never divulged to anybody on this channel before, okay? Which is, how much time do I personally put into my art and into my career? Because if you didn't know this, by the way, I'm also a full-time employed art teacher. I'm also a doctoral student. I make content here on YouTube. I do commissions, and then I also do my private mentorship. So the total amount of time that I invest into my art business every single week is 15 to 20 hours. That's on top of working 40 hours in my full-time job as an artist. That's on top of me doing my research and writing my dissertation within my doctorate program. And that's on top of me being a husband and a father of 2 little boys. So here's what I want to let you know, is that time is going to go by, and time is going to sometimes be hard for you. If that is, let me just give you this unexpected response. Good. It should be hard, because if it wasn't hard, then everybody would do it and everybody would achieve it. And if everybody could just speak it and talk about it, and it was as easy as talking about it or saying it, then it wouldn't even be that big of a deal. You wouldn't want it that bad, would you? So look, even if you're full-time employed, even if you have other obligations, I want to urge you right now, commit to your personal goals, commit to your future, commit to your potential. Or, just to be honest, what's going to happen is you're going to fall into the line of mediocrity where you're just committing to working for someone else's dream to come true instead of your own. Have you ever considered that? Because look, friend, time is going to go by, and you need to choose the disappointment that matters most. You can disappoint yourself for the next 40 to 50 years working for somebody else that you don't even care about that, or you can invest extra time into working at the disappointment of you sacrificing things in your life that don't matter but are going to make a really big difference in the next 5 to 10 years for you. But you got to choose which disappointment matters more. What's it for you? Now, once you've chosen your particular niche and you've got that locked in, you might be thinking to yourself, well, how do I really get clients, and where should I go for them, and what works best for them, okay? And now that you've thought about that, look, I don't blame you, because I used to consider the same thing until I learned what actually attracts clients and what repels them. And I made this entire video right here all about this topic. Go check it out, and this helped you share it with somebody that you know. See you next time.